Thanks for me today. Today I wanted to cover off something that I've been involved with recently, which I'm really excited about, and which is a little bit of a departure for me, just to talk through that and I guess go through some of the, kind of exposure I've had from being involved in that. So a little while ago I got to know about a project that's going on in Birmingham in the UK, which is by an artist studio which is called The People's Picture. The artist is a woman by the name of Helen Marshall, and what she does is she takes thousands of individual portraits of people and brings them together into one overall mosaic, very large mosaic, made out of all those individual portraits of people to make one larger image. And I was asked to submit a photo of mine which I had put out on Instagram as a picture that was something they'd like to have featured as part of that mosaic. Now, this was interesting for me because my photos are out there in the public domain. They're on Flickr, they're on Instagram, so you can find pictures of me if you really want to, and if you go googling my name you'll find all sorts of stuff about me online, and therefore anyone who wants to can find my pictures. So I've kind of gone well past the point where I have concerns about people finding images of me online and with my image getting out into the wider space. Having said that, I don't post my images on, let's say, more normalized sites, and this was a little bit of a departure because it meant that my image would go into a very, very public place. It would be stored in a number of public galleries. And there's a lot of interest in this art project because of the subject matter, and therefore there would certainly be the potential that someone who knows me might see that picture. But this is something we discussed in our family and we had a little think about, and I think the risks are relatively minimal. But even if they do, it's a good picture as far as I'm concerned, and it's also a good cause. So I wanted to do a little bit just to explain a bit more about the cause and what this is for, because I think this is going to potentially trigger a little bit of a discussion. So the first thing to say is that the project itself is named the Face of Suffrage. Now, the word suffrage is probably familiar to everyone, but if you have any issues or you don't know what that word is, it refers to the campaign by women 100 years ago to get the vote, particularly within the UK. So the suffragettes were a group of women led by the likes of Emmeline Pankhurst, who fought in the early 20th century for women to get the right to vote and to be on an equal footing with what was known at that time as universal suffrage. So basically everyone would have the right to vote, and women who'd in particular been denied that right would secure that, and it's now the 100th anniversary of that right being secured. Now, when I was asked to put a picture in for this project, this art project, I had a number of concerns. So firstly, the concern over people seeing me in a wider, more normalised context. But that's a very simple one to dismiss as saying, look, anyone can find me on the internet. It's really not difficult. So, there wasn't much to really worry about there. What I did think long and hard about was my contribution to the topic of women's suffrage. So I wanted to just divert onto that very quickly. And then go on to a little bit more about what's been happening with regard to this. I sat down and thought about, would I be the right person to put a picture forward for this? As a cross-dressing male who occasionally expresses gender as female. Some people might describe me as being bi-gender, genderqueer, or whatever you want to label me as. I express my identity very clearly in two different ways. One is a very strictly male identity, and the other one is a very strictly female identity, which is the one we do here. And I decided to do a little bit of research on the project, and I looked at the information that they had published about what they were trying to capture. Now, they were trying to capture any kind of expressions of womanhood, femininity. And they did go to specific lengths on the website to refer to this as anyone who expresses their gender identity as female. And with that in mind, from time to time, as in right now, I would qualify for that. I felt that this was an interesting way to put something out there and to put my contribution in. So I put out a little comment saying, my name is Juliette Noir. I'm a non-binary person who expresses gender in more than one way. That was the only comment I put forward with my picture. Very simple story. And I felt that this was kind of appropriate. It was clear they'd asked for something, but, I was concerned that there would be people who would look at me and would not necessarily see me as the right kind of person to be putting forward a story about women's suffrage. Now, from there, a couple of things have happened. Firstly, I was asked whether I would be happy for my photo to be featured in some publicity material for the art project itself. Now, that means that there was a few videos that were going around, sent around on Twitter, promotional video type activity that was sent out. About 20 different pictures or stories were selected to be grouped together into a promotional video. And so I said, again, I'm happy to do that. And that essentially meant that my photo was shared that little bit wider. And it was going out on Twitter as part of a promotional package for this art installation. And again, for me, I was really proud of that. I was very clear at the time that this was something that I felt quite strongly about. I was, really happy for my daughter to know that I'm doing this, my wife to know that I'm doing this, and to be a vocal ally, if you want to put it that way. There are times when my gender is expressed as female, clearly, and trans rights are human rights, women's rights are human rights. That's kind of my way of thinking of this. And if we sometimes blur the lines between these things, as long as what we're looking at is an overall, striving for equality and striving for equal rights amongst different people, then I don't really see the problem with that. But I was, again, conscious that some people might not view it the same way. Now, what happened last week was really quite interesting. So from being part of the promotional material, I was then contacted by the artist to see whether I would be happy for my photo to be used as part of a news article on the BBC. Now, what that meant essentially was that they were choosing, I think, about 5 different photos. And obviously my photo is a little bit unusual in that it's covering a niche area. And they wanted to know whether I would be willing to add some more text, add some more information about my story, and for that to be published on the BBC News website. So again, discussed it with my family and felt that it was a positive and empowering thing to do. And I certainly felt that it would be a good way to push some of this sort of community type discussion even further out into a mainstream type environment. So I said yes to that, and I provided some more information as well, which means that Thursday of this last week, my photo was and is still on the BBC News website. I'll share the links in this video. So it's been on the BBC News website. It has had some, let's say, some more text, which was my contribution to that. And I acknowledged in my comments that I felt this was a subject where some people might view me as being the wrong kind of person to be featured in this kind of promotional material and this kind of art project, but that even as a very vocal ally, I wanted to show my support for that community and for this celebration of the past fight for the rights of women and the ongoing, let's say, discussions about women's equal rights and equality within, within life and within the workplace in general. And I felt that was an important message to get out there. So if you click on that link, you'll be able to find the comments and find my contribution to that article. But this has been a very big and interesting week because of that kind of step forward. And it's something I'm particularly proud of. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to do this. I'm very grateful that I was engaged by this project to have this opportunity, because it's as much an opportunity for me to put something of myself out in a kind of normal community as it is anything else. And yeah, I'm really grateful for that opportunity. And if it can do anything at all to promote, let's say, a wider discussion on some of these topics, particularly with a lot of the topics that are going on about trans rights and a lot of the ways in which trans people are being labelled as being threatening to feminism or threatening to lesbians or threatening to women in general. And I think a lot of bad feelings being stirred up by things that just aren't really relevant and aren't borne out by fact. So this seemed like a good positive thing to put out there, and I was quite happy to do that. So what this means is that for a couple of months in the end of this year, the giant mosaic will go on display at Birmingham New Street Station. So if you happen to be around Birmingham New Street Station for any reason over the course of November and December, you will have an opportunity to see that mosaic and see all of the pictures that make up that one giant picture. It's, I believe, a picture of a local Suffragette campaigner is what's made up by the mosaic, but I haven't seen it yet. I'm looking forward to that. I don't know where I am in that mosaic, so I haven't seen it yet. I don't know whereabouts I will be, but it's the closing deadline for submissions of photos is almost up, and I'm assuming that I'll be somewhere amongst those photos in the picture. In addition, there's also a sort of accompanying exhibition which is going on at the Birmingham Hippodrome. I believe entrance is free, so if anyone is local to Birmingham or if anyone is local to that area, that exhibition of the women's suffrage movement in conjunction with this art project is available at the back end of this year again at the Birmingham Hippodrome, free admission as far as I'm aware. So again, I'll put some links up, have a look at that, and if you happen to be in the area, if you're around about at all, then go along and have a look. I certainly will be there myself, so I'm going to go and take the family there. I don't know if I'll go in Guy mode or if I'll go as Juliette. I'm tempted to do both, depending on whether I go once or twice, but we'll see. It'll be easier to just head up there in male mode and get a few photos of me, hopefully somewhere near my picture. That would be fun, very fun. Anyway, so I thought I'd do that update. It's a very, very interesting thing that I've been involved in this week. I'm super proud of how this has gone. I think it's a really nice, promotional type thing to be involved with, and I couldn't be more happy to put my contribution into this art project. It's one of the most satisfying and rewarding things I've been asked to do as Juliette. And with that in mind, I couldn't be happier to share it. And hopefully you will have an opportunity to see that. And once I've had a chance to maybe go down there, have a look at it, take some photos myself, then yeah, I'll try and do a follow-up and share some of that, because it's really good fun. I'm super happy about this. Anyway, if there's any comments or any questions, please let me know in the comment section down below. As ever, you can reach me through my email address, which is juliettesnoir@gmail.com, or my website, which is www.juliettenoir.uk. Please feel free to like, share and subscribe. Click the little bell to stay notified of upcoming videos. And yeah, thanks for watching me here today. Look forward to talking to you all again soon. And as ever, bye! Bye!